VHS Files contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome to the VHS Files Podcast with Jenny Lou,
So what do you want to do tonight?
Jason,
What about pizza and movie night?
Eric,
I want to rent a movie.
and Josh.
I want to go to a good video store so I can get a good movie.
And this is the movie of the week.
Get this pizza movie night started.
Merry Christmas! And Happy New Year!
Christmas!
Yay.
Feliz Navidad.
Fleas on my dog.
And welcome
Eric's
back.
Speechless.
Welcome back to the VHS Files, episode 14. How is everyone doing tonight?
Great.
I'm okay.
Doing great, Josh. Thanks for asking.
Greetings and salutations, sir.
So we're just going to get right into it tonight. Not a whole lot of business to talk about.
The movie of the week.
Is Gremlins.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought it was Ghoulies, man. I watched the wrong movie.
I watched Goonies again.
Critters would have passed for that too.
Yeah, Critters. Yeah, I don't. Oh, I do want to watch some Critters now. Hey, can we do Critters?
Eventually. So, Gremlins came out June 6th, 1984. It was directed by Joe Dante, who was just coming off of Rock and Roll High School and Jason's favorite werewolf movie, The Howling. I don't know if it's his favorite, but I know he likes it.
Hey, it's werewolves, dude. It's definitely up there.
He'd go on to do movies like Inner Space, which is one of my favorites, The Burbs,
I like that one.
Small Soldiers, and he also directed the sequel to Gremlins, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. This movie had a budget of $11 million measly dollars, and it made
That's all?
a box office of $212.9 million. So I think it was a hit.
It made a couple doll hairs.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
But it was released amongst the likes of Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, Streets of Fire, and a movie that we've already reviewed, Ghostbusters. So it came out with some pretty good movies at that time, and to pull off the amount of money it did is pretty impressive. But since we're going to 1984, Eric, take us back in time.
We're sending you back.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, in 1984, an oval-shaped hole about 10 feet wide and 2 feet deep was found on a farm in Grand Coulee, Washington. A chunk of earth roughly the same size as the hole was found 75 feet away. It's come to be known as the Grand Coulee Hole, and it has not yet to be explained how it happened. No signs of machinery or dragging or anything. Nobody knows how this hunk of hole happened.
You great hunk of hole, you Eric.
30 years later, we still
It's a
don't
mystery.
know. National Geographic magazine was the first U.S. publisher to print a hologram in 1984. It was also happens to be the first to publish an underwater color photo in 1927 and the first to print an all-color issue in 1962. So that's pretty cool. Dune was released, and it was so confusing that some theaters handed out laminated cheat sheets to help the audience with their confusion.
That's David Lynch for you.
It's all about the
Yep.
spice.
And finally, a certain legendary video game was released. I don't even need to say the name. You'll all know when you hear the music. Hit it, Josh.
We were just playing this when we were in Atlanta the last time we were there.
See it in your dreams. See the tiles
Yep.
falling in your dreams.
And he had many imitators
Tetris.
of Dr. Mario after that. So
Yep.
Dr. Mario. That one wasn't very good.
no, I didn't know.
Some people love Dr. Mario. I was never
Stick with the original, man. Give me some Tetris.
But it
I
has
liked
its
Yoshi's
fans.
Cookie, which was kind of like that, and also kind of like tic-tac-toe. Yoshi in it.
All right, let's watch the trailer.
Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. Billy Pelser has a nice home,
Billy, is that you?
Yeah, Mom, it's me.
a nice job, a nice girl,
If you're not doing anything this Thursday night,
Yeah.
maybe you'd like to go out on a date with me?
I'd love to.
and loving parents who are about to give him
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
the most unusual gift he ever got.
What is it?
It's your new pet.
Come on, Barney, be a good dog. My dad gave it to me.
But there are a few things
Barney wants to
keep in
eat it.
mind. If you expose it to the light, you may hurt it. If you get it wet, it will multiply.
Why would you say that in the trailer?
Yeah, plain water.
And most important, no matter how
They haven't
much
shown Gizmo yet, though.
never, never
Do they show it in the trailer, I wonder?
They do, yeah.
after midnight. Because when they do, they change.
The trailer's pretty long, so we're not going to do the whole thing.
I just
Yeah.
love how they love everything sugary sweet, and he tries to bite it out of the apple and chunks it. Like, I don't want this nutritious shit.
Yeah.
That's good.
Give me carbs and sugar.
Yeah, they do love candy.
So, childhood memories, first time watches,
and chicken.
any reminiscing of this movie here? Who wants to start tonight?
I'll go.
Go for it, Jason.
I actually have a very good memory of this movie as a kid because it was my first drive-in movie.
Ooh.
I know I've probably mentioned this to Josh before, but we've talked about so many things in the past. But here in Beaumont, Texas, we used to have a drive-in theater next to the big interstate highway.
Right.
Is now a driving range. is no longer there. But I specifically remember going to the movies as a child, sitting there with mom, my stepdad, brother and sisters, and watching Gremlins and being terrified
Yeah.
at certain parts of this movie in the backseat of the car. So yeah, but this movie stuck with me for a long time. I mean, there's scenes in this movie that we'll get to later. That little creature becomes a part of you
Yeah.
after watching this movie.
Yeah.
You imitate his noises. You loved all of his little antics through the movie, his little expressions. But this movie always stuck with me as a kid. But yeah, that's definitely, it wasn't a rental. I actually got to see this. I think I was only 7.
Wow.
But
I could see being a little scared sitting in a car at night
Yeah.
watching this. as a
Oh,
little
yeah,
kid, you know,
'cause-
like kind of
Mhm.
exposed to the elements and
yeah, you just got that. We had the old, it was old school. Not you had nowadays it's all with FM modulation. You had to actually hang the little speaker inside your window,
Right.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And your mom or dad had to walk and go get you the popcorn and bring it back to you. And you're sitting in the back seat. And then, like I said, there's certain parts of this movie. Yeah, I believe popcorn went flying, hiding in the eyes, you know. But then after into the movie a little bit, yeah, it definitely it pulls you in. And if you don't love Gizmo by the end of this, there's definitely something wrong with you
Right.
as a human being. But that's mine.
Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I love this movie as a kid. I had a stuffed
I think
Gizmo.
everybody probably did, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I had that little Gizmo guy, and you know, when you get older or when you start to get too many stuffed animals or plushies or whatever, and you have to cut down, that was one I always held on
Right.
to. You know, get rid of the bears, get rid of this animal I got at Busch Gardens or some crap, and you got to keep Gizmo around. And yeah, he made the movies for me as a kid. I mean, I think that's the same
Right.
for everybody. You wanted your
Absolutely.
own Gizmo. You know, you wanted that little guy.
Jenny, you can go ahead. I don't really have a whole lot of memories of this before. I mean, I don't remember specifically the first time I saw it or anything, but I do know it was on all the time. It was probably something that we taped off of cable or something. But then after I saw it the first time, it was many, many watches, but I don't really have a distinct memory of anything about Gremlins. But I mean, it doesn't change the fact that I love the movie.
Yeah, I definitely saw this one as a kid multiple times. I don't remember ever being scared of the Gremlins, really, and that's kind of weird for me because I was scared of everything.
Right.
Still am scared of a lot of things, and I wasn't afraid of them. So I know, like, grown adults now who are afraid of Gremlins. Like,
We know someone who's afraid of the theme.
The theme song.
Like if you just do the
they freak out.
like it freaks them out.
So if they're listening to this right now, they just went into the corner hiding.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I won't lie, dude. There's spots in this movie that freaked me out when I was a kid. Probably not like the scenes in Ghostbusters that I've talked about before, but and which is weird because this involves little creatures that could, I don't know. It just seems like those would be more likely to happen than what happens in Ghostbusters. So I don't know why I wouldn't have been more scared of that. But
I think the scares in Ghostbusters are scarier than.
There's a
the
few
Gremlins.
scenes in this that are pretty creepy.
Yeah, for until they really bust loose, and then it's
Right.
pretty much
Yeah.
funny after that. But yeah, there are a couple spots where you haven't quite seen them yet, and you don't know exactly what you're dealing with. Those spots are a little scary, but that's
Right.
not for very long.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it when we start talking, but yeah, the way the movie starts and the way the movie ends, it's very two-sided, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but let's just go ahead and get into it. I mean, we open up with Mr. Peltzer in Chinatown,
Yes.
and he's
Yep, very very noir. With
Yeah.
the narration
And-
walking in Chinatown. There's a gremlin car in the background.
I didn't even notice
Also,
I didn't
Yeah.
catch it either.
that. Right.
but it is interesting that he sort of like the dad narrates the film, almost kind of bookends.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's not really so much in the middle, but yeah, it is kind of a unusual thing to
No,
start. the
and
movie with.
I didn't really, from the moment the movie started, I started getting these vibes. So I'm just going to go ahead and start here at the beginning with it. And as we watched, I got more and more into this, but this movie feels like a episode of Tales from the Crypt. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the way it opens and sets you up for that. It could have been like Demon Knight or Bordello of Blood. Like you could have put the Tales from the Crypt on this, and I would have believed every second of it.
Oh yeah.
You're right. It has the same like
Yeah, I mean it's
tone.
tamed down compared to what they did for HBO, but I mean, it even looks like an episode of Tales from the Crypt, like the photography and everything. Like it feels like one of those episodes to me.
which might be some of the budget
Yeah,
showing.
Well, I do think some of the people that were involved with Tales from the Crypt were involved with this movie.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I didn't get too deep into that, but I just found like as soon as I noticed it last night watching it, I just couldn't get it out of my head. Even once you get to the creepy parts of it, it just feels like something you would have saw in one of those episodes.
I never thought of that. Now that's all I can picture now is an episode of Tales, and this fits right in. Like you, instead
Yeah, it
of
does.
the dad
That makes a lot of
narrating,
sense.
it would be the Crypt Keeper narrating at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it totally fits. Josh is onto something here.
So he's brought down to this little shop by Short Round.
Yeah. Well, not
Short
the
round.
short
Not
round,
short
but a
round.
short round knockoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
short
there's
round.
lots of
Tall round.
Spielbergian references and stuff in this movie, obviously.
Well, he was the producer.
You've got the Indiana Jones billboard. You got a little Chinese boy with a Yankees hat on.
Yep.
And there's
Oh
more.
yeah, there's lots
But
more.
yeah, there's a lot more. But E.T. stuffed animal in the store.
Yeah.
Spielberg actually makes a cameo at one point.
Yep.
Some other little things, but yeah. So he's looking
And
for a gift.
I love that they don't really set up why he's looking for this special gift for Billy. It's just one of those like, I'm a teenage son. I want to get him something special. It's just one of those like out of gratitude sort of things, you know?
Oh no.
Mr. Peltzer is adorable.
Yeah.
He's great and he's comical, but he's also a little sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out.
Because
Well, he's
we'll get
kind
into
of
this.
he's struggling.
Yeah.
You know, he's not really successful
He's
Right.
Yeah.
at what he's attempting to do.
he's
And his bathroom buddy malfunctions in front of a customer.
He embarrasses himself every time he tries to sell.
I just
something.
Right.
like it when he's
Yeah.
talking to the old Chinese man. What's his name? Mr. Wing, I think.
Yeah.
Like that. And he was talking about You ever had that where you go somewhere and you realize you have dragon's breath and then you hear the gong hit? Boom. You're like, I mean, bad breath. It's like,
there's lots of little sound cues like that in this, kind of like in Lampoon's Vacation that we just talked about. Just little,
and it's Warner Brothers. There's lots of
Looney Tune-ish
Bugs Bunny imagery and stuff like that in here, and lots of Looney Tunesy kind of sound cues and gags and things like that too.
And what I had written down about the father looking for this present for his son is that he wants his son to have something unique because he can't provide that for him himself. He kind of knows he's a failed inventor, but he keeps trying. And I just feel like there's if I can't make the thing that's unique for him to have a better life and all this stuff, then maybe I can find a present unique enough so that he knows how much I love him.
I think that's a great point. And he's almost like trying to prove himself to his son in a sense.
Now, I've always been a little lost on the kid brings the guy down to the store and then he doesn't want to sell him the Mogwai.
Rightfully so.
Right, exactly. But I'm wondering why the kid feels this need to.
Because he says they're broke.
Yeah, they're broke, and we come to find out that he really doesn't get away with this. Secretly selling the Mogwai.
Right.
Because obviously the old guy's going to find out in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the hell's the Mogwai? But I guess they were behind on rent or something, and they needed the money, so the kid makes a bad decision.
Right.
We all make bad decisions. We don't follow the rules through the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he just went behind his grandpa's back and sold the Mogwai. So breaking rules to begin with. And then we just keep doing them because as humans, we're ignorant to the rules.
So we don't get a glimpse of what he ends up finding for Billy. We just hear this singing and this adorable little sound coming from this box.
You fall in love with him before you even see him.
Right.
I love his song.
It's so sweet.
Now, did anybody do their research on who does the voice for Gizmo?
I did. It's Howie Mandel.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Howie Mandel.
But the singing is done by a 13-year-old girl. Not Howie. They hired somebody just to do the singing.
Well, I thought that was pretty interesting. You don't really think of I've never really Gizmo's always just been Gizmo. I've never really felt the need to put a face with who voiced him before, but it's kind of weird.
Well, he only says a handful of words.
Right.
It's almost like having Vin Diesel as Groot. It's like, why get this big name for this?
Yeah, you're right.
It's just he says 9 things. It's heavily edited. Well, it doesn't even sound like him by the time it's done. Who cares?
Well, the other thing too, since we're talking about that, the other voices of the Gremlins, do you know who did those?
Vin Diesel?
No, Vin Diesel. I don't think so.
No.
I know Franklin Welker did Stripe. I don't know.
Michael Winslow from Police Academy lended his voice to some of the other Gremlins and their noises, which we all know him as the man of 1,000 noises from the Police Academy movies. So,
right.
I did not know that.
Franklin Welker did the voice of Fred and Scooby on Scooby-Doo.
Yes. He's been doing Scooby for 50 years.
He also did Optimus Prime, didn't he?
No, that's Peter Weller.
Oh, Peter Weller. Okay,
Wasn't it?
Sorry.
RoboCop?
Welker.
I thought he did it on one of the movies or something like that, didn't he? No, I got that
don't
wrong.
know.
That's totally wrong. What's his name? I'm thinking RoboCop because I just watched it. Oh, God.
I don't know
Get
what's
back
real
to me
anymore.
later.
But, Mr. Pelter is really pushy with this guy. He's I know he's got a good heart.
Yeah.
But he's come into the store and he's very kindly but firmly told him no.
Yeah.
And he just will not quit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of insulting.
Yeah. I mean, he's pushy and he's a salesman.
Yeah.
So he's used to pushing his boundaries, I guess,
I don't like salesmen. So.
And then we cut to the rules that they have to follow.
I don't feel like they adequately explain how important these rules are.
Well, it's a kid describing it to a grown man.
Right.
I mean, it's just hey, by the way, don't do these 3 things. But you could have presented it a little more like, listen, if you don't do these things, this thing will multiply and turn into a monster. And I mean, maybe the kid doesn't know exactly what happens either, but I assume the old man knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those situations where, the kid could just be being careless, or he doesn't really know. It's one of those things that might just be, a tale in their home that if you do this to the Mogwai, this is what will happen. Sort of like a Baba Yaga sort of thing, like the boogeyman sort of stuff.
Just taking a step back, Frank Welker did the voice of Megatron.
It was Peter Cullen who did Optimus Prime in the 80s.
We're all straight.
All right. Are you Transformer nerds done with your...
Hey, it was a Peter something. I had to get it right. I don't know why. I was just thinking.
Well, he's a legendary voice actor. He's got. I mean, he's been in a million things. So anyway, worth mentioning.
We're throwing props out to Transformers in this episode too.
So, and we'll get to the rules again later because I've got a clip that I want to play. But then we cut to theme song, Christmas. What's the name of this song? And it starts going through the town. Anyway, the only reason I bring up the song is because
I don't remember.
It's a Christmas song. I forget, but yeah.
What is it?
I don't know. I don't know the name of the song. Anyway, but the song opens up and it says Christmas to start off. And as a kid, I always thought it said Gremlins. Like I thought this was the Gremlins theme song.
Gremlins.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what song.
What is it? That's what I thought.
I don't know the name of it, but it's like they're singing "Deck the Halls."
Yeah.
But it's not like Christmas at all.
But what's the name of it?
All I Want for Christmas Is You. Is that it? No.
No. And thanks for getting that.
Thank you, Mariah Carey.
I don't know the name of it.
Anyway, there's that little tidbit of information. But also, I mean, if your movie starts with a Christmas song, you're a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
pretty
definitely.
much.
There's Christmas lights, there's Christmas presents, there's Christmas trees,
gingerbread cookies.
Gingerbread cookies, and everything is blanketed with snow through the entire film. It's fully a Christmas movie.
Now, just remember these rules for Christmas movies when we get to other movies later.
Right. And the way it cuts through and shows you the Christmas tree place and all the people in the town, like it sets up the town really well. I couldn't help but think, is this the set from Back to the Future?
It is. I don't care what anybody says. It is definitely. There's a scene later in the movie. It is definitely the theater.
Yeah.
So
right, and the theater has another Spielberg reference. The working titles for E.T.
Yep.
Right. Boy something. Forget what it's called, but yeah. But that theater is the same. Theater.
Yeah, it's the same little town square backlot area.
And I think the way they shoot it is they're trying to get you away from that, maybe? Well, no, because 85 was Back to the Future. So Back to the Future used this.
Yes.
We've got some investigative stuff to do now.
I wonder who used it first. As not between the two, but if before Gremlins, if someone used it.
Yeah.
Certainly. I love just so many of these 80s movies we watch, they take place in a little town.
Yeah.
And it's like the rest of the world doesn't really exist. I mean, we get a little Chinatown here, but other than that, you're in this little town, small town USA.
I love how it sets up the people as well as the town for you as well, because you got the cop trying to con the tree guy out of a Christmas tree. And I love the exchange he has with the other guy. He's like, I paid for mine, Frank.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude, stop being a cheapskate. The sheriff's department gets paid.
And had anybody ever seen anybody dressed up in a tree outfit before?
I don't know.
This was so weird to me as a kid.
It's very impractical, especially when he has to carry a tree while being dressed as a tree. He can barely move.
He's Groot. He's the original Groot.
Yeah.
It is a nice little thing for a callback later, but it's nice to like when somebody bumps into him, he's like, it's a nice little gag. But so we get introduced to Billy and his dog Barney.
And a boy. And another VW bug in another movie.
I think there have been more VW bug appearances on this show than there have been repeat actors. Like this is going to be another Corey Feldman one, so they might be a little neck and neck.
Yeah.
There have been
another Corey Feldman appearance.
So many movies.
Billy is dumb to bring his dog into a bank and hide it in the. I mean, that is quite a move.
I kind of said the same thing.
It appears that it is not the first time either.
Yeah, because the guy, the guard at the door says hi to him, and he says, "Hey, Barney," as they come in. So it's obvious he's brought the dog to work before.
And he's got like the leash and the pillow set up.
Yep. But yeah, I've always thought as like, why is well? I mean, it would be one thing to bring your animal to work if you had a place where you could bring your dog and it could be free to do whatever it does. If it's at home, fine. But it seems as though he's keeping it tied up underneath his desk all day, and that's a little for me.
Well, his mom seems to be a stay-at-home, like a homemaker,
right? Yeah.
So why can't the dog just stay home with her? Also, Judge Reinhold's giving him all kinds of shit about being a bad employee or whatever, and he's right. He is a bad employee. You work at a bank. You can't bring your dog and put it under your desk.
But the main reason he has there is he's hiding Barney from Miss Deagle.
Do you
think that Miss Dingleberry, who lives down the road, that lady's a bitch.
She is the biggest bitch.
But
you know the queen of Bitch Mountain.
Yeah, but you know what's funny to see her? I never realized this. Who she actually played before this? She was Flo on Alice. You know, the old Mel's Diner TV show, Alice. I grew up watching this because my mom loved Mel's Diner and Alice. So
None of us know what you're talking about.
I can't help it. We're on a show about movies and TV shows that are nostalgic, and yet all three of you fail. So
sorry, we're not older than us, buddy.
Dude, they went into syndication through the 80s, man.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
But she was in both of those shows, and I never realized because she was a very just nice person. They worked at a diner, and then to see her acting like a total bitch in this movie, she gets what she gets what she deserves in the movie, but it's just weird to see her as that kind of character,
and then some.
Yes,
yeah,
she is like the classic villain. I mean,
she's basically Ebenezer Scrooge of this film.
Yeah, like, Ebenezer Scrooge.
She's got people trying to get, the lady's asking her for help at Christmas time. She won't help her. I mean, it's
Potter from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to point out in the news report at the end, they mentioned Mrs. Deagle. I think it was in the news report.
Something about her husband.
The widow of a stock swindler.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just an interesting little thing I didn't notice before.
Yep. I'm going to bring...
Yeah, she threatens to straight up kill Billy's dog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would fucking kill her.
Yeah, you don't do that.
No.
You don't do that. You don't threaten my dog.
I would have took the dog's leash, the one that he broke, tied it around her neck, and choked her over the counter.
Yeah.
Don't you threaten my fucking dog, lady.
That's right.
If you haven't noticed, we love dogs here on the VHS Files. So don't fuck with dogs.
We love animals. All of them.
Right. Well, the two things I wrote down about Mrs. Deagle. Number one was the theme music when she comes up. It's so funny. Very cartoony. But as soon as she starts talking to the lady outside of the bank, I was just like, fuck this cat lady.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I brought up the score, and I kind of wanted... The score is going to keep coming up through us talking about this, because Jerry Goldsmith did the score, and the way this score crescendos throughout the movie and then gets to the main theme is excellent.
Yeah. I can't believe he's only won, I think, one Oscar for all the movies he's done. And I think he won an Oscar for The Omen.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the only one he won an Academy Award in. But I mean, he's done tons of great movies as far as the music goes.
Yeah. He did
Aliens. The Omen.
Yeah, he did Alien. I think was it
77.
Miss Doubtfire, I think, something like that. I think I had him here. The Mummy, Total Recall, Mulan, Poltergeist, Rambo.
There you go.
Patton, Alien. Yeah, not Miss Doubtfire, but yeah,
he was nominated like 20 times though.
Yeah, he's been nominated, but he's only won one, and that's for The Omen. So,
yeah,
but roll that.
Well, you're right. The music is great, and it's a lot of fun too. I think it's a fun score.
It knows when to be dark. It knows when to be comedic, and I think it works really well when it does the dark stuff. It does it well. When it does comedy, it does it well. Not only do we get introduced to Mrs. Deagle here, but also Judge Reinhold's character. What's his name? Did anybody write his name?
Gerald.
This dude is a shitbag.
Sucks.
Total different. Another one, actor that went in a totally different direction than what we normally see him as.
And does anybody buy him as 23 years old in this?
No.
How old was he?
I'm not going, Jenny. Don't even start with me. I'm not gonna.
Hey,
I'm not gonna try to figure out anyone's age anymore.
Pizza was.
Let's kick it over to the math. Let's kick it over to the math corner with Eric. Let's see if we can add up this week. But yeah, definitely doesn't look 23. No.
But essentially, I mean, as you're going through here and you're getting introduced to your characters, you're pretty much just figuring out that this town's full of jerks.
There's some jerks.
I mean, or at least it's ran. It's
Murray's
ran by
a nice
jerks.
guy. Murray's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Was it Futterman? Futterman? Is that his name? The next door neighbor?
Yeah, Mr. Futterman.
Mr. Futterman?
Yeah.
Which we totally missed the whole thing with him trashing foreign cars and everything foreign.
Anything foreign.
Yeah, anything foreign. Yeah, they're all trash.
Well, he initiates the term Gremlins.
Yeah.
Later in the movie, yep, it's him.
Which is from a Bugs Bunny cartoon. the term Gremlins. And that's where they took the name from.
Yeah, there's actually an episode with the gremlin.
I didn't know that.
It doesn't look like this, obviously,
No,
but it's like a little creature that kind of terrorizes.
I thought they were kind of setting Mr. Futterman up as the typical Republican next door neighbor a little bit.
Maybe a little.
Gotta buy American.
Right.
And have foreign cars.
not like Volkswagen doesn't make amazing vehicles.
Right.
Yeah, Bugs are not the greatest vehicle. I mean, Jenny would know she owned one.
Well,
I did.
And the
It
headlights
shows-
just would go out.
2.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
2, yeah.
Yeah, 2.
Old school and new school.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's the Barney attacks Mrs. Deagle, and again, another reason why you shouldn't have his dog at work,
Especially if he's an attack risk.
Yeah, and
it is weird that like Barney is like attacks her based
she's
on
talking
what she says.
shit about him.
I know, but like that you're proving Barney, needs to really think about what he's doing because he's proving her point that he's a menace.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting to is it doesn't really show Barney in that good of a light. Like, I love Barney and I'm defending him to the end, but he kind of is proving a point when he does what he does.
He senses evil. He attacks.
Yeah. Her whole thing about my heart and all that when she attacks him too is so funny.
She sucks.
Because she's automatically better, and then she's like, "Oh, my heart."
Yeah.
When you listen.
We also got introduced to Phoebe Cates at the bank as well.
She's so cute in this. She's just so cute.
She's
adorable. They
and-
almost didn't want her in the movie because of the whole topless scene thing.
Well, I mean, this was really one of her first more like wholesome roles. She'd always kind of had like a bad girl MO in the stuff that she had done before this. So yeah, it was a little controversial to cast her, but I think she's great.
Well,
here.
she is great, and she is definitely an actress that I had a crush on as a kid.
Yeah,
and I hadn't seen the Fast Times thing. Like,
yeah, I think this movie would be why I would have had a crush.
Yeah,
on Phoebe
and
Cates.
yeah, I mean, I was oblivious of all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that captured a lot of young guys' minds, but it wasn't because of that at all. She's just adorable.
Yeah. I mean, with her, it would have been one of those situations where it would have been like, hey, did you, or like, you would have found out, like, hey, did you know the girl from Gremlins did a topless scene a few years ago? Like, you're like, oh, I got to find that. But yeah, I mean, this is, I'm glad you brought that up because it's weird when you have generation gaps in movies and stuff like that, because if there was a generation before this movie that had seen her in those things, that might have been what people's opinion of her was. But after, like I don't see her that way at all. But apparently that was her MO before this movie.
Well, after all this craziness, we go and meet Miss Peltzer in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to the kitchen with Miss Peltzer. I think she's in there doing something, and then I guess Billy's going to crack some eggs, and we see all the Peltzer appliances in the kitchen.
Yes, and they're obligated to use all these appliances because they don't want to hurt Dad's feelings, but none of them work.
And that's why I wrote down the dad is funny but kind of sad, is because he's got this house full of things that he's invented. You can tell he's proud of what he's done, but the family even knows that, you
and
know,
he knows the family knows.
Right.
Yeah. But I want to go back to something.
Are you going to say what I'm going to say?
In the bar.
Oh, no.
So, Billy goes, to get a drink
Yeah.
after work. Phoebe Cates works at the bar. Gerald comes in and is being a dick to Billy,
Douchebag.
saying he almost got fired and blah, blah, blah. And then he switches his attention to Phoebe Cates, and the lure of his come on is that he has cable at his apartment.
I have a note on this too. We're talking cable.
Yeah.
Hey, baby, I got cable and HBO
This is the
back at home.
84 equivalent of Netflix and chill.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah,
You haven't seen my new apartment.
I haven't seen your old apartment.
Yeah, I love that one. I haven't seen your old apartment either.
She's adorable in this, but she's also got a bite to her.
Yeah, she's a little witty. She's witty,
Yeah.
man.
Especially if it comes to like someone like Judge Reinhold, where you can tell she just has no affinity to do be a part of his life whatsoever.
Is he like the goofiest looking lead? I mean, we haven't talked about Fast Times yet, but he's did anybody think he was a heartthrob? I mean, he was too old. I was not born, but
Judge Reinhold was a Beverly Hills Cop. It was his character in Beverly Hills Cop for me.
but he's
that's
not
how I
cute.
always saw him.
He's not.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but where I would have first saw him was Beverly Hills Cop. So going back and watching him in something like Fast Times or even this, he is a little younger there. So it wouldn't have been hard for me to believe that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of goofy.
He's goofy.
Yeah, very goofy. But yeah, I mean, we're at the house, and I also want to go back to when he comes into the house because I love that the sword falling off the wall is a gag through the whole movie, and plays a part in what comes later. But it's such a this house feels lived in.
Yeah, it's Chekhov's sword.
Right. It doesn't look like your generic houses you would see in movies nowadays that are all bare and whatnot, which is funny because we're kind of talking about this in our current home situation, but it looks like a family lives there and has put time and effort into that house.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so, I noticed when Billy hangs the sword back up on the wall, there's even you can see where it slid off the wall before, little indentions in the wall and stuff. But we come in and Mom's watching It's a Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life.
And she says it's a sad movie.
It's not a sad movie.
Right.
All right, let's not. We'll talk about that a different time.
So Dad presents him with his gift, and he thinks it's a birdcage or a puppy. And I love when he says puppy, or he hears the dog barking. Ruff, ruff. It's so cute. And but I wanted to bring this up. Is this the best character reveal, especially for a creature or something that you're seeing that's not a character in your movie? It's supposed to be something but I feel like this always comes back to me whenever I think about seeing something for the first time is
when his little hands peek up over the edge of the cage, and that's all you see.
Yep.
Then you see
Then he jumps up and scares everybody.
Right. But I think it's one of the best reveals I've ever seen. I mean, I don't even remember thinking when I first saw E.T., the reveal on E.T. was E.T.'s not really that cute in my opinion.
Oh no, I love it. I love it when Stay Puft shows up in Ghostbusters.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. All you see is the head walking through the building.
Chestburster and Alien. That's a pretty good reveal.
Yeah, aliens are cute. They're cute.
Or the facehugger even. But yeah, he's not as cute as I remember. He's kind of fleshy and kind of wrinkly. He's a little funky.
It's because you watched it on Blu-ray or 4K. You can see all that now.
Shut your mouth.
He's not just a complete teddy bear, I guess is my point. He's got kind of bat wing ears with veins in it, and he's a little bit weird looking. Not just a total fluff ball. He's not the snuggle bear, that I kind of remembered him being. You know what I mean?
I think that's kind of his charm, though. Like I don't know. Like I always thought his mouth and his ears and stuff were the characteristics that I thought were unique about him.
He looks like he could.
Yeah, well, it is
a
unique
real
for sure.
living thing. Because
Yeah.
You see flesh, you see hair. It looks like a
I guess what I'm saying is there's an element to him that is not traditionally cute, with the veiny ears when like the light goes through the ears and things like that. He's a creature. You know what I mean?
Hot take. Hot take.
I am not wrong.
There's Eric's hot take, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so on the other side of that,
because you're wrong, Eric.
This is the best damn creature design for like a fluffy, adorable thing until Baby Yoda.
I was about to say.
I'm gonna say it.
Well, Baby Yoda had to come up in this conversation,
Yeah.
right?
I was gonna
Because
say.
wait, just and in general, the creature design in this film is fantastic.
It is.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They look amazing.
They do.
And I never really question whether or not it's a puppet while I'm watching this. It looks really, really good.
It looks great.
But Baby Yoda is derivative of Gizmo. There is no Baby
absolutely.
Yoda without Gizmo. I mean, yeah, Grogu. I love Grogu, and he's adorable. But everything that makes him great comes from this movie. He's little. He's a puppet. He makes little cute sounds. He's kind of like little and ugly, but cute at the same time. There's my point again. And, he kind of looks like a little old man. Anyway, yeah, I love Grogu, but you got to hand it to the OG here.
Oh, yeah.
Gizmo. Wasn't there a meme at one time where it's like Yoda and Ewok got together and then they had a Gizmo? I think I've seen that where it shows that and then it's Gizmo and I'm like, that fits. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it really does.
That's what happened. Star Wars made Gizmo happen.
Well, I want to play a clip of the first time we find out what happens to them when they see bright light.
No. He hates bright lights. There's some things I forgot to tell you guys, and they're really important.
Oh, you forgot?
Number one, he hates bright lights. We know that. But you got to keep him out of the sunlight. Sunlight will kill him. Number two, keep him away from water. Don't give him any water to drink. And whatever you do, don't give him a bath. And probably the most important thing, don't ever feed him after midnight.
All right,
so of course there's issues there.
Absolutely.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
It's always after midnight.
I was about to say.
It's always after midnight.
At 6 a.m., it's after midnight. When can this poor little thing ever eat?
Also, if you can't bathe him, then we must assume that
he smells terrible.
Or that he cleans himself.
Right. Like a cat. Like a cat.
So I need a scene of Gizmo licking his butt.
Would that make him cuter or more ugly?
I don't know, but we need to get to the bottom of how he cleans.
Well, there's
himself.
that, and we also have to just why is no one else questioning this creature?
Yeah, they're just like, all right.
They do accept it
pretty easily,
pretty quickly. Not like
it's because he's so cute.
It's because you're in movie land, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It'd be like if somebody gave you some like a chinchilla or something, and you're just like, oh, this is like a weird little animal I had never seen before. Some like unusual. What's that animal that they based Pikachu on? There's like some little animal.
I know who Pikachu is. I just would never retain or seek out the knowledge of what creature he is based off of.
Not everything I know was seeked out by myself.
But I wouldn't be able to retain
I didn't
the
seek out
information.
that information.
And obviously you can't retain the information either because you don't know who the creature is.
Fight!
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna send it to you, but it won't do us any good while we're recording. So we'll put it on Twitter. I'll find it. But My point is, we're in movie land, so we're not going to waste too much time on it. But also, I think they go, "Oh, this is probably just some animal from like China."
Yeah,
so we got it in Chinatown. Just something I'd never seen before.
Well, we also introduced Billy's bedroom, and this is probably where I fell in love with the whole idea of the whole attic bedroom sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
This was probably the first time I ever saw that, and I loved it.
And then if you didn't fall in love with Gizmo when you first meeting, when him and Billy are with the keyboard,
yeah.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
yes. That little booger, he's got skills too. He even shows you that, hey, you're playing the wrong note, bro.
Yep.
That's like just that little harmony. I wish you would have had that clip. That would have been.
He knows
cool
his
to hear him
scales.
sing. Yes, he does. He can harmonize.
Yep.
He got talent.
He also watches TV, the racing movie, and emulates it. Gizmo was
Which sets up something later too.
Yeah. But of course, the first night he has Gizmo, he gets hurt, so he's not being responsible already. The sad faces that the puppet has when it's hurt, and like all of the all of the different faces of Gizmo you see in this are amazing.
I'm curious. I wonder how many different gizmos they had for filming.
I don't know. That
because I'm sure they had like scared Gizmo, happy Gizmo,
right?
All these different kind of gizmos.
But they do a great job with conveying his emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
whereas
totally.
it's hard to do that with some creatures or animals when you're doing them like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see the emotion in his eyes, his face, even the ears, how they'll kind of curl a little bit, like he's in pain or scared.
Right.
Well, he has a hilarious moment later. His reaction to Phoebe Cates's story later.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh fuck.
This is where we get our Corey Feldman coming to deliver the Christmas tree. Did you catch what he tells Billy? Like Billy's going to keep the outfit there.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm just going to tell my dad some bullies beat me up and stole it.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do too. That suit is ridiculous.
Dude, he sits down on the bed and he's holding a drink.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
Yeah.
And that like makes you nervous right away. It's like, get this kid away from Gizmo. He is going to fuck it all up here.
And he does.
He does.
Yep.
And he does a few minutes later. Damn fool.
And Gizmo's face after he reproduces, the face that he has suggests that he knows exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Next. And you wonder how many times he's been through this before.
I do wonder that. And you could almost make a prequel. I know they're talking about making another Gremlins movie.
Yeah.
And I believe they said that they're going to stick to puppets because a lot of people wanted that. It could easily be a prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, it almost would be more interesting because you wouldn't have to deal with any of the stuff from the Gremlin films. Just you would just have
Go back and tell Gizmo's
before he ends up at that shop.
It's like, was Gizmo the original? Like he's the first Mogwai?
I was thinking about that after we watched it. I was like, is he just one special Mogwai out of like our Mogwai generally a bad being?
Yeah.
And he just happens to be the one that was not. I think that would be an interesting thing to explore.
I feel like went back to their origins, like 18th century China or something. And
Ooh.
They could call it Gremlins Origins.
Or the OG.
Yeah. You could cross over with the Leprechaun series.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, no.
Please, no. Gremlins in space. Gremlins in the hood.
I was always a bit confused as a kid how the water got spilled on him, and then I realized it was paintbrushes soaking in water. But yeah, I mean the sound he makes when he reproduces, and just all of that, it's just like ear piercing when he's screaming, and Billy and what's his name? I don't know Corey Feldman's name in this. Pete. They just kind of
watch it happen
and sit off to the side, and it's like, I don't know. I think I would be a little more concerned if that was going on.
they're very naive through the whole thing. They don't really think. Although I do like that Billy immediately tells his parents what's going on. When things escalate later, he goes to the police.
Yeah.
He, a lot of the time with some of these movies, you get the kids don't take the proper reasonable steps.
Right.
That you would normally do. Like, I need to tell my dad what's going on, or, I like that he actually does that. I like in movies when people actually communicate with each other.
Well, the sad part is he does communicate and nobody listens to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to tell the dad, and the dad's too busy working on the invention, making the bathroom buddy better.
Well, that's the other thing about the dad that kind of gets me a little bit is he such a failure that he would risk, like you could see the change on his face, like the Pel Serpent, like you can see it cooking up.
Yeah.
And it's like, is he that desperate,
That's again, this is why he's such a failure, is because that's a terrible business model.
Yeah.
You're going to try to sell Mogwai. Anyone you sell to anyone can just make as many as they want from that one you sell. So as soon as you sell one, you've already lost whatever value it has. It's gone.
Yeah. And that's probably why Mr. Wang is so upset about what's like he knows that's part of this process. Like he knows what he has. It's special. You can't just, put it out there for the world.
It is interesting that when the spawn, I guess we'll call them, pop off of him, that they look like tribbles.
Yeah.
Which are also a little highly reproducing creature.
Yeah, from Star Trek. Trouble with tribbles.
Trouble with tribbles.
But I also like that Gizmo is obviously the original, but out of his spawn, we get Stripe. And he is automatically like, this is the one that's in charge. And you could tell, was it? He tries to reach in and he tries to bite him.
Yeah.
He's like, Gizmo's like Jenny said earlier, the look on Gizmo's face knows that something bad is going to happen. And then you automatically see that these are more aggressive Mogwai.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning. But of all of the ones, that's the only ones we get names for, right? It's just Gizmo and Stripe.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the main two. It's like good and evil, yin and yang.
I wrote down Stripe as like the Joker.
He just wants to watch the world
Gizmo's
burn.
Batman.
Some Mogwai just want to watch the world burn. In this case, he really does. So.
Right. And it's even, I get that even more when he actually turns into the creature. But I don't know, like what other than being a high school anatomy teacher, like what other reason does he have to take these spawn off to see Mr. Hansen?
It's a small town. He doesn't know what to do. He's the only person he can think of.
Yeah,
I think I would have.
You always get the science teacher in movies like this.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like,
it's like Dr. Connors in Spider-Man. It's like you just always go to it's the closest thing you have to a scientist in your little town. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somebody that might know what the hell's this thing is.
Where I live, there's nothing here but like a hospital. I'd probably take him to the veterinarian.
Right.
Look what this thing does.
Right.
That makes more sense, Jason. That makes
Absolutely.
a lot more sense.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make. Yeah. I'm sure there's someone else you could have taken him to other than the high school anatomy teacher. But was it anatomy, science, whatever it was?
One of the two, yeah.
It's the next day, and Billy runs into Phoebe Cates, whatever. I don't know her name. Kate.
Yeah.
Well, Phoebe Cates, Kate. And
Phoebe Kate.
He's talking to her about Christmas, and she
flips out.
Yeah, she goes off. She hates Christmas, and her reasoning is a little morbid, but she's making a really valid point about the holidays and suicide, because it's a really difficult time for a lot of people, and Billy just can't see that because he's never had trauma in his life to associate that with. But I think he will after this, but he's never had that before.
Yeah,
you're right, Jenny. That's a weirdly somber moment in the middle of this film, and it's true. It's absolutely true. People get sad about that point, that those things, and being alone in the holidays and that kind of stuff. And it's interesting that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
even that whole scene from Mr. Futterman dealing with his life and the hardships he's having through her thing. I mean, you get that real serious moment in the middle of this movie of like crazy monsters and antics. And,
that reminds me of the Twilight Zone thing ting
Yes. Yeah.
Little Twilight thing Zone on the plane. Yeah.
I also like that they set Mr. Futterman up as this, however they want to set his persona up, but he's also not so ignorant that like when she says you need to walk home, he walks home.
Yeah.
He's not utterly careless,
Yeah, and it's sweet that they kind of look after him.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the end, out of all this somber moment, Billy gets the cojones and asks Kate out, and she's down for it.
Sorry, my daughter walked in during that scene. Well, while I was watching it, and she sees Billy, and she goes, "Oh, he's cute." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, Billy seems to be kind of fidgety about asking her out, but I think she's making it pretty obvious she's into him.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is where we get how devious these little bastards are and how rambunctious they are. If you think having dogs is a problem, puppies, Jesus, like these guys are going insane. The noises they make are hilarious though.
And I like where Gizmo was sitting on the bed reading the paper with 3D glasses.
With 3D glasses.
Dude,
yeah.
he said
Gizmo with the 3D glasses.
I mean, that is
Classic.
awesome. And then you got all the other one.
Yeah, and even when Billy asked him, he's like, having fun?
Fun. Neat.
Yeah.
It is interesting that he can speak.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Learning. He's learning as he goes on with it.
Just thinking about Mr. Futterman?
Yeah.
Futterman talking about World War II. There's your movie.
Yeah.
A period piece World War II war movie with Gremlins in it.
Aha.
Boom.
There you go.
And Gizmo's there.
Yeah.
He's on the front
He has an
line.
adventure in World War II.
Yeah, he's on the front lines of World War II.
Front lines. I don't know
Got
about
his
that.
little helmet on, his little bitty Gizmo machine gun. He's killing Nazis. He's in the business
Nazi
of killing
scalps.
Nazis.
All right. I want to notate that is
boy.
Eric's IP, so nobody steal that.
That's right. You heard it here first.
Gizmo knows, like, that's the thing. Like, Gizmo knows when something's not right. Like, even when he offers him chicken, like, Gizmo knows.
When they eat the chicken, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like this super close up of their little lips that look like a scrotum. Their lips, little wrinkly scrotum lips.
God.
Jenny will never be able to get that picture out of her head again every time she sees Gizmo. Thanks.
I maintain that Gizmo is slightly gross. All right, continue.
The photography of it is really like what it is, like with the stringy like saliva coming off of it while they're eating it and everything.
There's lots of slime in this movie, lots of stringy, slimy stuff, and lots of bladders
slimy
inflating and
stuff.
deflating. I love the grossness of all the effects.
I think it's interesting just how quickly like all of these things happen. Like you get it wet, it instantly reproduces. It eats, and then within 8 hours probably it's cocooned.
By the next morning,
Because he woke up the next morning and they're all
very alien.
Yeah, I mean it's another shot that reminded me of like it would be like you're cut to black, and then your next scene in a Tales from the Crypt episode would be like, Mom, come look at what happened.
And another movie they were watching Body Snatchers, right? Is that
Yep.
what they were watching? So,
relates to the pods and all of that stuff.
Yeah, the little pods, and then they look like alien eggs too, I think. But
yeah, a little bit.
And the mom asked, "Did you not feel it?" I know. I checked my clock, and you turn around and you see it still says like 11:35 or something, and then he picks it up, and the cord was ripped out of the wall. It's not even unplugged. It's just bare wires.
Yeah, it's like they chewed it off or something.
Another weird thing about Mr. Hansen when they cut to him and the one that he's got there doing tests on is he's got the animal at the school doing these tests. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah,
He's eating a sandwich. He's just hanging out, eating a sandwich 2 a.m. at the school. Like it shows a clock in the background. You can see what time it is.
I'm getting like Reanimator vibes.
A little bit.
Like, like he's got a little kooky look in his eyes. He's enjoying doing tests on this thing a little too much.
There's another outlet you could go through is he's got a sample of this thing's blood
That's
somewhere.
what I was about to say. There's your part 3 right there. The blood sample, man.
Doesn't the gremlin grab the blood sample?
I think he just grabs one of the what do you call those? The
test tubes.
Test tubes, and he eats it.
They eat glass.
Yeah.
They're related to the Grinch. They eat glass.
A little bit.
Ties it into more Christmas right there.
Yep.
Grinch is just a gremlin this whole time?
Maybe he's the original gremlin.
Didn't Billy tell him the rules? Because he leaves this sandwich very close.
Well, Billy is very negligent in a lot of things. He just takes an eyedropper and
here. Oh, look.
Yeah. Look at this.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. Like, how do you know that one drop is only going to create one? Like, that's where they leave a few open questions in this.
Billy works at a bank, but clearly he's not good at math because you got to think this thing could reproduce to extreme amounts of, I mean, even if they don't turn into gremlins, you'll have, you could
Mogwai's running around.
You could have Mogwai take over the earth, just eating all of our chicken legs. Yeah. Also, why didn't they cover the chicken in the fridge? Cover that shit, man. Don't just leave
that was
it
a
open.
lot of leftover chicken for them only
on.
being a 3-person family and dad's not even home.
Dad's not even home. That's why there's so much chicken left. Dad's not there to eat it.
But the thing, we're talking about the inventions, and the mom and Billy are trying to do the whole thing, like helping the dad out, is when the dad tries to call and the phone's not working. I guess it's a remote answering service.
Mm-hmm.
And when she answers the phone, he's like, so what? Oh, no, I was on the back porch. Like she doesn't want him to know that the invention doesn't work. So you kind of feel that there too. I was like, well, she's just trying to be helpful to keep his whatever up.
Well, since you brought that up, I want to play a scene here.
The convention's great.
Did you guys notice this? Watch.
You got Spielberg driving by there.
Actually, the competition is a little more advanced than I expected.
So there's all this stuff going on, but you see the time machine over in the right corner?
Yeah.
Yep. From the old Time Machine movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and then we get our shot of the eggs starting to open a little bit. But when it cuts back to the dad, the time machine's gone.
Yep.
And there's smoke.
And people are
rising.
like, where did it go?
Yeah. That is something I never picked up on as a kid or anything. And then when I got to my adult years, watched this movie again, I was like, oh my God, that is hilarious.
Also, that the guy with the hat with the phone stuck to it and all the things coming off of it in the phone booth,
Right.
that might be Goldsmith. But later you see him and the robots there.
Yeah, talking on the phone.
And he's got that hat on.
Yep.
So the guy's gone and his hat's on the robot for some reason. I love all the goofy crap that Joe Dante puts in here.
Yeah.
All the little nods and jokes and Easter eggs and things like that. It's just it's a lot of fun.
Well,
and of course he goes even more crazy with it in the second one.
But didn't Chris Columbus write this movie?
Chris Columbus wrote it, yep.
Yeah, and I mean, what all the great stuff has he done?
Wait, Jason, which Chris Columbus? The one that discovered America?
1492. 1492.
Discovered.
Yeah. Quote.
Air quotes.
First he discovered America, then he wrote Gremlins.
Exactly. That's what he does. But because I read that this movie would have been even darker if they would have went with the original script.
Yeah.
Yes, it was going to be more violent.
Way more violent, which in the next scenes coming up would have been way different by what I had read as what Chris Columbus was going to go for.
Well, I read that the teacher was originally, and they shot it too, that he was going to have like a bunch of syringes in his face.
Oh,
and that's how Billy was going to find him.
Like Pinhead.
The gremlin had stabbed him with a bunch of syringes, but Spielberg made him reshoot it.
Yeah.
To the way we see it now, where he just has one stuck in his ass.
And
because I think they just didn't want it to go too dark.
As a kid watching this movie, like I grasped the fact that the doctor was dead, and they didn't show a whole lot, and you just see that syringe in his
he's not
in
a
his
doctor.
ass. Well, doctor teacher,
same thing, right?
That's the way this movie plays it.
Teacher, doctor, teacher.
But
excuse me, doctor, teacher.
I literally am being serious. Like, it never dawned on me until we watched it last night that the syringe in his ass is because of the blood test.
Yes, it's revenge.
Yeah,
As you stab me with
that
a fucking
never
needle. Bam.
Yeah, it never crossed my. I always thought that the gremlin killed him somehow with the syringe, but it's just
it
one of
would have
those.
with the other scene being stabbed repeatedly in the face by a syringe.
True.
He might have died from that, but I guess you're just kind of getting the idea because he gave him the candy bar underneath because we still didn't get to see the gremlin yet, and then we get the first look of just the hand.
Yeah,
because I guess he goes to make a phone call. Is that what he's doing?
Well, he's trying to get to the phone. Yeah,
He grabs the apple. Oh yeah, he scratches Billy when Billy reaches for the phone. Yeah, that's right.
I love when they do hatch though, how it cuts between the one in the school hatching and then to the ones in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where the score starts to evolve. It's where you first get that little glimpse of the dun 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 dun. Like that's where it first creeps into the score and starts to kind of change a little bit.
Yeah.
And I love the look of them opening and like pulsating and like the smoke and stuff coming out of them and everything.
All the smoke and lights.
Yeah,
and
there's lights
ladders
inside
and
there.
slime in this movie. Good stuff.
And the scene in the house with the mom where she goes fucking full Captain America mode.
My favorite scene in the movie
Is so,
I'll
it,
just
like it's
say
got
it now.
some very, very creepy moments in it.
Before we get there, though, I just want to point out that it is Christmas Eve and these children are in school. Now, I grew up in the 80s. We did not go to school on Christmas Eve.
No,
yeah,
you
you'd
were
been
out the
off
whole
school
week.
for a few days before.
Yeah, a couple days before, through the New Year.
Yeah.
Remember, Gizmo's locked up in the attic with them now out of their cocoons. You still don't see them, and then all we see is Gizmo tied to a dartboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're throwing dart. You still don't see the gremlin per se. I mean, we saw a glimpse of one at the school when Billy was in there with him. He kind of pops out of the cabinet real quick, and that's about it. You don't really get the real good slow look at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get Gizmo up there throwing, and they're throwing darts at him, and you're like, what the hell's going on? That's when the mom can hear noises, so she goes to check it all out.
I really like how they build up to it, though. Like, you get the hand, and then you, like, when they're hatching, you see a hand come out, and then you see the one in the school, and then he pops out of the cabinet, and you're all building up to, like, the big reveal.
Yeah.
In the same way, I like that Billy tells his parents, tells the cops about things. I also like the way the mom reacts when she hears stuff upstairs. She grabs a knife immediately.
Yep. Dude, like
she is
instant.
nobody's fool.
Yeah.
She hears something, she goes, something ain't right. She's
Yep.
not gonna go, oh golly gee, what's going on? No, this woman is ready to go. She's
She
got a
can
knife.
handle herself.
Oh yeah.
She can handle herself.
Uh-huh.
She when she starts kicking these guys' asses,
That's
I am
great.
just happy as a clam.
Dude, I love how they use the music too to cue up because she's upstairs and all of a sudden you hear the record kick on and you hear, do you hear what I hear?
So good.
And you're like, she's like, what the hell? And
They
then we get
managed
the
to-
first. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, they managed to make a Christmas song really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Especially as yeah. And then she opens the door because she hears stuff in the kitchen and we get the first look of the full
Yeah.
out of the cocoon gremlin.
Smacking on some gingerbread.
Yep. And
They love sugar.
it's a complete 180 from what they would normally do in a movie in this situation where the mom would freak out or run away or whatever. Like she is preemptive about it. She's like, oh, that motherfucker is sitting on the blender. He's about to get blended.
Yeah.
And she just goes
there's
for
no
it.
there's no effort to catch it or
No.
run away
No.
from
No, just reach
it
in
or
and
anything.
clap.
She's like, I'm gonna blend this son of a bitch immediately.
Yep.
I'm not even gonna see if it's nice or anything.
Yeah.
And
And,
then
then the
she-
second
the one-
one, Michael
the one-
Myers his ass.
Yeah. Throwing plates at her and shit. And she just fucking stabs his ass to death. And then she throws one in the microwave.
Great.
Oh, I love the effect, dude. It's so gooey, nasty. You know,
Yeah.
It's just
you
like,
see it
yeah.
cooking, and then
Like, there's so much goo in there. It's
Yep.
just like there is not enough slime in movies these days.
No.
There is not enough slime. You watch Alien, big fan, Carpenter movies,
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, of course. This one, there is slime. I want more slime. More slime.
One of my favorite things in this scene is when she goes into the living room and she hears something going on in there, but she doesn't know where this other creature is. I don't have a clip of it, but I've got a little GIF here, and I love the way this shot looks, and I'll describe it to the people that are listening. But when she's standing in front of the tree and you can see the
eyes.
lights and everything, but you can see the lights or the eyes lit up behind her. And then that tree just comes to life and tackles her. That shit scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
And all the tinsel on the tree, I think, helps that
Yeah.
visual. I love that when it hits and all the tinsel just like falls off of it. Yeah, that scene is great.
That is kind of the equivalent to when like Michael comes out of the shadows in Halloween for me. Like,
this scene of like the first attack of the Gremlins is peak Gremlins for me. You've got humor, you've got gore, you've got monsters. It's all there. You know?
Yeah.
And this is where the sword comes into play for Josh.
Yep. Billy finally makes it home, sees his mom getting attacked, and decapitates that mofo with that sword.
Yeah,
that looks great too, with the head burning in the fireplace.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Still, oh man, that's great. Love it.
But my favorite part of it all was when he checks out mom, she's okay, but then they see that Stripe is on the window. And I love your introduction to him. He looks at him and he grabs the drapes and blows his nose off.
And then out the window he goes.
Okay, here's an example. Billy takes his mom to the doctor next door so he can check her out while he goes and why wouldn't you have not taken the gizmo to the doctor instead of the high school guy? Like, I don't know. That's just
maybe he thinks that a scientist will be more receptive to a foreign being.
And maybe he's not as close to the doctor as he is the guy at the school. Maybe.
But again, he's doing the right thing. He's making sure his mom's safe.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he goes to make sure Gizmo's safe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he is kind of handling business in a reasonable manner.
He's very responsible. He's just not smart.
Yeah.
Well, he's good in an emergency. I don't know
but
how
like,
he's not a
emergency
responsible
is his
pet
fault.
owner.
Yeah. Like he caused the emergency.
Yeah.
So Billy finds out that Gizmo's okay, finds him in the laundry chute, throws him in a backpack, and off they go trying to find Stripe. I don't know how they really track him down because
there's footprints in the snow, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get into town, they get through the little Christmas tree area, and you can see little footprints, and they lead up to the YMCA.
Okay.
One of my favorite visuals is the pool scene.
It's so good.
Where Stripe jumps in and the pool starts bubbling and lights up green, and that just looks so cool.
Right.
Smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
He is still trying to warn people. And it goes back to the Goonies scene, you know, where Chunk's calling to try to tell the sheriff things are going wrong, kind of. And the sheriff's like, yeah, whatever, little monsters, you know. Mm-hmm. And I immediately went back to that scene.
What gets me about the cops is like they're just drunk as fuck in the station.
Yep.
Like, nothing's going to happen on... Well, number one, just drinking in the station in general. But two, it's Christmas Eve. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Probably nothing bad has ever happened in that town on Christmas Eve.
You're probably right.
Yep.
But
they only have 2 cops in the whole town.
Yeah.
So
right.
They're both wasted.
Clearly it's...
But this scene is where we're introduced to the other cop. And this is a good place for us to get to Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her. Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name? That guy who was in that movie that was out last year.
So I got a couple of nominees here. I mean, the cast, you got Phoebe Cates. She's not Almost Famous at this point. She's famous. And we've been talking about it the whole show. Corey Feldman, this was one of his first movies. Judge Reinhold, again, was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But Zach Galligan, other than Gremlins 2, I mean, anything else?
No. I know of.
So, I mean, I would know him if I saw him on TV or whatnot. So I think that puts him in a little bit higher of a category than some other people that I'm going to mention. Does anybody have anybody they want
to? Mine, I had Murray, Mr. Futterman, Dick Miller, Demon Knight, The Howling. I mean, he was in a lot of you go and look up his thing through the 80s and 90s. He always had these parts, but he had a memorable face, that old guy looked to me, but he never really made it there. But he was in, I mean, I was going through his Wikipedia, man, it was long.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing movies for a long time. And then,
I mean, he was doing movies in 1955.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been until his movies in the 80s that I really noticed him. But I mean, he is like the definition of character actor.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I think he's probably the go-to guy. Worth throwing Frank Welker in there, as he's done so much. He's been in so many things, but most people don't know his name because he's not an on-screen presence. You know, he's just a voice guy.
I had him down too.
Yeah.
The one that I wrote down though is Jonathan Banks.
Yes.
Breaking Bad.
Of Breaking Bad fame.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was in all kinds of stuff in the 80s, 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. I would have probably seen him in Beverly Hills Cop too.
Definitely, yeah.
He was in Under Siege too. He's been in stuff like Identity Thief, which is more recent. I think he's a little, I don't know, like, would you put him above Dick Miller, or would Dick Miller be your guy for this?
I think more people nowadays would know Jonathan Banks than who Dick Miller is, because of the whole Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, how big those shows were or still are. Because Better Call Saul,
I think Dick Miller
would be the under the radar guy.
Is under the radar guy for sure. He's our guy.
He's definitely that guy that you see his face, you probably don't know his name.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've seen that guy in so much, but I don't know his name. Like,
That's our Dick.
That's our Dick.
Our Dick. Hey, are we
I'm not
all in
gonna say
agreement this
anything.
time?
I think we
I
are.
learned my lesson. I'm not saying anything about that word.
Now we cut to Dick Miller and Mr. Futterman watching TV, and all of a sudden his production is interrupted.
Should have got a Zenith.
Should have got a Zenith.
Damn foreign TVs.
And his wife is so happy. Like, he's the grumpiest old man, and she is just pleased as punch to be in the world.
Yeah. It's weird,
it's
too.
Almost like All in the Family. Like,
yeah.
He's grumpy and she's just positive as ever.
Yeah.
I love there's like this weird little shot of her with like a chipper, a cracker in her mouth when he goes to walk outside, and
when she hears the noise. Yeah.
Yeah. And she just looks, she's got like a chip in her mouth. It's just such a weird little shot. I don't know.
And I love when Mr. Futterman goes out to check the antenna, she takes that opportunity to get in his recliner.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hops in that recliner real quick.
I thought maybe she was just dutifully waiting to
Keeping
see
the seat
if the
warm for
signal
him.
would come back.
I'll holler at him. Hey, it works. Because I mean, have you guys ever had to deal with that?
Absolutely.
Oh, I had to do that. Hey, turn the antenna on the roof, because my grandpa used to have me go out there and turn it just so he could watch, football or whatever.
During a thunderstorm?
No.
Oh.
No.
You know,
Back to the Future experiments.
These Gremlins are good with electronics. They
Electronics, machinery.
They can drive they can drive.
Well, that's like Mr. Futterman was saying. He's
They
like,
work.
Yeah. they one of them rewires the street lights
Yeah.
to cause a car crash. Doesn't Stripe, he messes with like an electrical box or something at the There's another one that does some stuff later with electronics, and of course they're playing the arcade game. I don't know why they're so smart with, they're like, they have electrical training, electrician knowledge.
But this scene kicks off with the Futtermans checking out the antenna and everything, and him going to check everything outside. And this is where the score completely opens up and you get the full theme for the first time. And I've got a clip of it. There's that face.
So, I'm going to ask, who's your friend that's scared of this?
We're going to call this person out.
I want to call him out
I
because
actually think I know a couple of people.
if they're listeners to the podcast, they're having PTSD in the corner.
I don't think they listen to the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, good. You can trash them all you want.
Is Kate
then.
afraid of Gremlins?
I
Did
don't
we
know if
make
she
her
is or
watch
not.
this?
Kate,
don't
are you
remember.
afraid of
Kate,
Gremlins?
did we make you watch Gremlins?
So up until this point in the movie, like, they've been pretty creepy creatures and doing some pretty heinous shit, and they continue to do heinous stuff, but this is where it starts to turn and get a little more Looney Tunes and goofy, and I love some of it, and some of it is a little over the top. But the first little gag you get after that is the mailbox.
Yep.
And the father keeps
Just
putting
throws it
stuff
back
in.
at
And but I love that the guy comes in and sticks his hand in, and all of a sudden it gets stuck, and that's when mayhem ensues.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is where you get basically like a long montage of what can we do? What can we have the Gremlins do? Like, I know, let's have the Gremlins do Christmas caroling. I know, let's dress one up like a detective. Let's dress one up like a mugger. Let's dress one up like, what else? One's cross-dressing. One's a flasher with a
The
French
flasher
coat.
is
I
the
love
best.
the flashing one.
Dude, but that's what I love it, because we get past all this stuff like that and they go to Miss Deagle's house. I'm almost kind of wondering, do they retain some of the information that Billy would talk about around them when they were just Mogwais, or when he talked to Gizmo and maybe he transferred? Because they say her name, Stripe does. And I'm like, it's like he's like, I'm going to fuck your house up and you. And almost kind of, I started to wonder that. It's like, do they pass that along to each other?
Maybe they attack people Billy likes too, so it's hard to say.
But I'm just remember, like, I mean, he goes there and it's Miss Deagle.
Yeah.
Well, we figure out the
she's
reason
had
why.
it coming for a long time.
Oh yeah. Well, we figure out the reason why she hates Barney so much is because she's a crazy cat lady.
Crazy cat lady, yeah.
Her house must smell awful.
She was going to throw a pitcher of water and a bunch of caroling children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Before
when
she realized they were gremlins.
When she goes out to do that, and you see the Gremlins for the first time in the outfits singing, it is hilarious.
Well, yeah, up to that moment in the movie, everything was played kind of as like a scary threat.
Yeah.
But now you go, oh, they're dressing up like carolers?
Yeah.
They've got like scarves on and they're singing out in front of her house. It's just...
And now the two drunk cops go out and try to see what's going on because they get a call at the station that some crazy shit's been going on. They see Miss Deagle fly out of the house.
She gets launched.
That's one of my favorite, most memorable parts. Even when I saw this in the at the drive-in, is when and every time I see one of those chairs like in an older house,
yes, you think about that.
That's all you can. This movie is the first thing that pops in your mind.
Yeah,
I had never seen a chairlift on
I
stairs.
had never until I saw the movie. I've seen a few.
Yeah, and so I remember that. Yeah, it's just burned into your brain. You're just like, oh my god! And again, that's the other thing that they rewire. They rewire the chairlift to launch her out of the house.
I think the funny thing is, because we know that she's a bitch. She gets that. She deserves to be thrown out the window and land face down with her ass up in the air in the snow. But the fact of the whole matter is the fact when she sees the carolers, she sees the little gremlins, probably to her, they're demons. And she turns around and she says, I'm not ready yet. Like she knows it's like the devil has come for her. She has been a bitch.
She says, they've come for me. They've come for me.
She knows that somebody is coming for her because she's been such a bitch to everybody. It's like
somebody's harboring a little bit of guilt.
Yeah, I mean that's that part stuck out to me this time when on the watch for this. As I never realized that before. Is like she knows she's so bad that the wrath of God has come after her on Christmas Eve. I've sent these little demons to take your soul to hell because you're not no angel.
It's the best thing that they do in this movie.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just talking about my prequel concept, a young Mrs. Deagle can be in that movie. She's seen them before, and in her youth, she's still a shit as a kid, and she somehow escapes them in the prequel, only to be found by them.
Right.
In the
could Gremlins?
Let me just write this down, guys. This is money.
What if they know she killed her husband and they're coming after her? I mean, she had to have killed him, right?
Let's start throwing the theories out there, people.
Or is it like maybe she's her family's from the old country and maybe she was thinking Krampus. Krampus has come for her because she's been naughty.
And then the sheriff watches a man die.
Yeah,
and does not help him.
They're so surprised by what's going on that they just forget to be cops. and
they roll
don't
up the
save
window, they
someone.
drive away, and you don't see them again.
And Jonathan Banks, the cop, the character, is so scared. He is just like, let's get out of here. He's like Hicks and Aliens. Game over, man. Game over.
Let's get out of here. And then he cuts to Pete up there shooting him off his house with a freaking slingshot.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is great. I mean, and he's not, I mean, I'm sorry. If I was Pete's age and I saw these freaking things running around on my house, the last thing I'm grabbing is a slingshot. I'm running and hiding. He's a little kid.
He's freaking 13, man. He's doing whatever he can with what he's got.
Well, it's true. I mean, he did kill Jason Voorhees at this age. So
it's true.
That was a year later, I think.
No,
anyway,
close enough.
Yeah. So
I love that Kate is bartending.
Yeah.
To the Gremlins.
This was always so odd to me.
She's pouring
as well.
drinks.
Like she could have easily gotten out of there, I think.
Well, I think they're, keeping her there by force because she's
maybe
afraid of them.
Maybe she's doing her part and being like, I've got a lot of them here. Maybe if I keep them occupied, they won't hurt other people. Maybe. But this is where you get the smorgasbord of all of the crazy gremlin shit going on here.
I like the card game because it's like that old play on the old with the dogs playing cards that you see like in pool hall, and it's all of them playing, and you get the cross-dressing gremlin there with Stripe, and then if you see the one pull the ace out, and Stripe just pulls a gun out and shoots him right in the face, and I was like, and then we get the flash dance gremlin.
This bar reminds me of a few bars I've been to in Panama City Beach.
every spring break.
I like the one that's
there's
just
some salty characters in this
laying
place.
under the tap and his belly's just like huge and full of beer.
It's where we get the comedic side of the Gremlins.
Yeah, my favorite one though is the little noir gremlin over in the corner by himself smoking the cigarette.
Old
with
blues music playing.
Yeah, but my favorite part of it though is when the little puppet comes up next to him.
Yeah, a puppet with a puppet. We've got like puppetception going on here. Puppets with puppets.
Puppet on puppet action.
Kate tries to light one of their cigarettes, and then that's when she finds out they're susceptible to light.
How are their other cigarettes lit? Because they're actively smoking.
There's a lot going on here that makes no sense.
Jenny, you are poking holes in this thing.
Yes. Absolutely.
Come
on, fill in the holes for me. You guys
if they can't get wet, how are they getting all this?
Debunking the things.
Yeah,
that don't
they're
make
drinking
sense.
beer. How can they not?
They're getting beer all over themselves. That's getting wet. There's a lot of holes here, babe. We can't poke holes.
All right.
But she finally figures out that the bright light will help her, so she finds the camera and starts flashing. Well, flashing? Does she start flashing? She's not in a red bikini.
And I love those. Then we get the ski mask gremlin. He's
that
kind of
one's
scary.
Yeah,
he could have shot her about 4 times though, in the time where she was just bobbing and weaving.
She dodges the bullet, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and she smacks him in
I
the
also
head.
really like when she leaves and her and Billy team up.
Yep.
That just the scene of the downtown area where it's just chaos. Like people are running around. The one pops out from under the hood of the car. It's just complete chaos. I love that scene. It looks great.
Now,
but what's weird is, I'll just say it now. It's weird. They go into the building and we get her story, which we'll get to in a second. But when they leave, there's like all the gremlins are gone, but all the people are gone too. Like, did the gremlins like kill everybody or what? Like what's the death toll here? Everyone is gone.
This is another one of these holes we're talking about, Eric. We can't start poking.
But we should talk about her story.
Yeah, get to her story before they leave the building.
Well, I wanted to bring up one thing before the story. Judge Reinhold is such a douche in this movie. His character sucks. We never see what happens to him. Like, they missed an opportunity of them taking Judge Reinhold out in this movie.
I read that there was a subplot with him that was cut.
There is a deleted scene where when they're in the bank, he's actually locked himself in the vault. And they find him and they offer to get him out, but he's so cocky that they just leave him in the vault.
There you go.
There you have it.
But I would have loved to have seen him got what was coming to him for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, this story. What are our thoughts on this?
It's depressing.
Not possible. Also not possible.
It was Joe Dante had to fight for it.
Really?
Which is pretty commonly known that they didn't want it in the film. And it is weird tonally.
Absolutely.
They just cut to this story, which is extremely grim.
Yeah.
And then immediately jump to a theater full of popcorn eating, gremlins. It's a very strange.
It does really change the mood from the moment she tells this story. And then it gets really somber and just kind of takes a real down note.
Yeah, I mean, just the way she describes the whole scene with they were trying to get a hold of her dad, couldn't, and days go by. It's almost like a week. And they're
I mean, that would be torture.
Yeah. And then
the smell.
If she goes to light a fire because it got cold outside. And how could you not smell a dead body in your chimney before that? Before
Depends
sticking
on
your
how
head
far up it was, I guess.
I mean,
I don't know.
Glue was shut.
The bigger question here is who thought that they could do this? Like,
I don't
thought that they could go down a chimney. Is that what
sounds
you
like?
Yeah.
But it sounds like he had been maybe doing it before.
No, I don't think so. I think this was like, I'm going to try it this year, and that just didn't work out.
Oh, okay.
It is strange. I mean, I don't know. I don't dislike it that it's there, but it is odd that it's there.
Yeah,
and I kind of like it because it's odd,
It's
I think
definitely a
that's maybe the point.
strange thing to interject in this movie, in my opinion.
Well, again, it goes with that conversation they have earlier where she's just this very serious character in the middle of this batshit crazy movie. And, she talks about suicide rates. She says, well, you're opening presidents. They're
Somebody's
opening
a wrist.
their wrists or something. I mean, it's like some really dark shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it is weird because it's sandwiched between the bar scene and the theater scene. And it's just like so.
Well, I mean,
odd.
it's like the one chance that she has to like take a breath for a while. And I think that just having all this happen on the holidays has just reopened her trauma.
Yeah.
And so it's like spilling out for the first time, and who knows how long, because obviously she doesn't talk about it. But now that the Gremlins have taken over, she's recalling all the horrible Christmas memories.
It's definitely a good explanation of why she doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah,
because that's
absolutely.
Because I mean,
it's a great reason.
Yep.
I mean, she even mentioned that like you mentioned that you don't like Easter or something like that. But if you mentioned you don't like Christmas, you're a leper.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's a reason why not to. For sure.
But I do really like when they leave the bank and, you were saying, Eric, that there's nobody there. I love how they make Christmas look eerie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really is like a horror scene.
It
there.
feels a little post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
That particular scene I thought was a little reminiscent of like something they did in Stranger Things with like the upside down.
Yeah, just that
stuff.
Kind of bleak looking.
Yeah, I love. I think Gizmo's reaction. I mentioned it earlier when she tells her story and she says like they find my father's body.
Yeah.
His ears go down and he's like, he's like the viewer going, oh fuck, like that's a crazy story.
Where did that come from?
It's kind of funny. It almost feels like a little fourth wall break of
Right.
Gizmo reacting to that story.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get to our next segment.
You're going to need a bigger quote.
Jason, you got any taglines for us?
Oh, I found, I think 2, possibly 3, but I think one of them ended up being used to the side, but it's really part of one of the others. But the taglines I found for Gremlins is what you see isn't always what you get. And then the second one I found is don't get him wet, keep him out of bright light, and never feed him after midnight. And then the other one, the Gremlins are coming.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the only taglines I found for this. I guess, I mean, we had taglines back then, but it seems like we got better taglines as the 80s and the 90s rolled on. I don't think it was too much back then. So
Well,
that's
this
the
was
only
a
ones I
tough
could
one
find.
This was a tough one for me as far as a quote goes. More or less what you're quote unquote quoting in this movie is like the little like gizmo sounds or the gremlin sounds or whatever. Like there's not really an actual quote in this that I really think sticks out. Now, one that has always stuck with me is when they get to the theater, which is where we're at now, and he goes, "They're watching Snow White and they love it."
Yeah, I have that written down in my quotes as well. It's so funny. I love that they love it. It's just like, why are they watching this movie of all movies? I don't know, but they are captivating. I got some quotes. We're talking Cable. That was a good one.
That's a good one.
While you're opening up your presents, they're opening up their wrists. That's crazy dark. She says she doesn't like Christmas, and he says, "What are you, Hindu or something?" That's a little problematic. The teacher, as all the kids are leaving, he says, "If any of you want to give me a Christmas present, a cassette deck wouldn't be bad.
And tickets to the Super Bowl would be nice."
I like when the mom says, "Get out of my kitchen," just because she's such a badass.
That's
it's
good.
Like,
that's a good one.
It's like,
yeah.
Get off my plane or whatever.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. The cop says, "Why do you always get to drive?" Or "You always get to drive." And he says, "That's because I'm the sheriff, you asshole."
That was mine.
I have too many.
This whole segment is the new Eric segment of quotes.
I always have too many quotes. The radio guy says, "Hey kid, this is Christmas, not Halloween."
Yeah.
When he calls into the radio show. And yeah, I have yours that you just said. And then the little things that the characters say, like yum yum, or like they say gizmo caca.
Yeah.
Of course, bright light.
Bright
right?
light.
Bright light.
That would probably be the thing that we quote the most from this movie. Would be
Well, and yum yum.
and yum yum.
Yeah.
Well,
I got a story about yum yum.
Tell it.
We had watched Gremlins. It must have been in December because that's when we watched Gremlins. And Josh had to go get his wisdom teeth taken out.
Oh no.
I mean, this is, I don't know what, 5 years ago?
a while ago, yeah.
So as an adult, he had to go have his wisdom teeth taken out. And I was there waiting to take him home. Got him in the car. He's so drugged up. And he looks over at me with these cotton ball cheeks, and he goes, yum, yum.
Yum yum. I was out of it, dude.
That
It
is
was
amazing.
great.
I had wrote down bright light, mogwai, yum yum, all that stuff. The one that I like is the dad when he's talking about the Peltzer pet or whatever. He says, "This could really be the big one," and he was right.
I also like at the very, I think it might be the last line of the film where he says, he's warning you about gremlins, and he says there just might be a gremlin in your house.
Yep, I like that closing statement they do.
Yeah, especially for like thinking about like being a little kid and watching that, just like looking at every dark corner in your room, like, is there a gremlin under there? But we're at the theater. They're watching it. Major Inglourious Bastards vibes here.
Major what vibes?
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I mean,
Gremlins did it first.
Yep.
Gremlins did it first, man. You don't have Mandalorian or Inglourious Bastards without Gremlins. Let's just put it down right now.
There we go.
I think Tarantino would probably argue with you on that, but
there's probably another example of that in another film. But
yeah.
But Billy's pretty inventive. He got them all in one place. And he's like, I'm just going to turn the gas on.
Yeah.
Fry these little boogers. Kill everybody.
It's a good plan.
He's even smart enough to even burn that thing and leave it out the door. Like he set himself a fuse. That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a coven of vampires or whatever. They're all, they all have to stay in there during the day.
Well, and that's why they found him. Remember, he walks out and they're like, where they all go, and he says the sun's about to come up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he knows that and where's a good dark place? A theater.
Yep.
But Stripe is the smart one again.
Well, he's not smart. He's hungry.
Yeah, and he's hungry. Yum,
He's
yum.
Got to get that candy.
He's got to get that yum yum, son.
Yum, yum.
That was dumb.
Yes.
I liked it. I liked it.
But yeah, he goes over to get some food, and I like when they're leaving the boiler room, and all of a sudden the film cuts out, and you can see Billy and Kate behind the screen.
That scene.
When they all start piling up in front of the screen, you can tell it's animated, but it still looks really good.
Yeah.
I really
I
like
mean,
it.
that's what makes it look good.
And then with them tearing through it, tearing
Oh.
through the sheet and whatnot.
I was just saying that's like I was in my notes. That's one of my favorite little shots they have is because the Gremlins can see them behind the screen, and as they're running away, like that's just a cool little scene. Just all that together with
it's a fun visual.
Yeah, it's so neat. I mean, that's just a great. I mean, while you said it's animated, but it's just cool how they shoot the whole scene. So.
When the theater actually blows up though, and you see the Gremlins burning inside. It cuts to the one gremlin running around with a knife in his hand, and he's like, ah! What the hell was that all about?
Dude, I'm telling you, like, the people making this and Joe Dante, like, they were just, what can we do with these puppets?
Well,
what else can we do with it?
They go to extremes in the next movie for sure.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes the second one so good is all the different kinds and all the different crazy shit that. Well, Stripe goes to the department store, and I love any time in a movie where they end up in an empty department store or grocery store, anything like that. You can just run in and grab anything off the shelves and use it. It's just it's like a playground. I love when that happens in any movie.
And this is where Billy gets the cojones to give Kate some smooches as he runs off to try and find Stripe. She seemed a little shocked by it.
Yeah, because he's got to go get his ass beat.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
Billy gets his ass beat.
And I'm glad you brought up the electronics stuff because Stripe seems to be able to put himself on camera and be displayed on all the TVs in the TV section.
Yeah, well, it showed it. There's that TV camera that's set up there.
Yeah, that was already set up, but
that he knows to do that.
I like this shot of him. I like this shot of him skateboarding through the aisles with all the candy and stuff in his hands.
Hey, Gremlins created Mandalorian. Gremlins created Inglourious Bastards. And then Gremlins also created the Saw franchise because he throws saw blades at Billy and then he rides a tricycle immediately after.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of little nods in here. I mean, you get Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a chainsaw.
Yep.
You get Walking Dead with a crossbow.
Dude, I even had, but the one with the saw blades, I said Stripe throws blades at Billy commando style.
Yeah.
When Arnold's in the Arnold, when he's in the shed, he uses the saw blades. I was like, there you go. Well, I was going to say, we were talking about the little plugs for Steven Spielberg and the Warner Brothers. Before we get to that part, he's walking down the aisle. And I mean, I was a kid when I saw this movie. I wasn't expecting that, but you see the Bugs Bunny and you see the ET thing, and you don't expect to just see Stripe's face come out. And he's just watching Billy walk by. But yeah, as older, you realize product placement.
Well, also like that's a nod to ET because of the thing, but it's also a nod because that's what ET does in ET is he sits among the stuffed animals.
Stuffed animals,
yeah. So it's a double nod.
It's a double nod.
Billy should have, instead of a bat, which was proved to be basically useless except for blocking the.
Well, at least it blocks him from getting chainsawed up. For sure.
It does. It does. He should have grabbed a flashlight.
Well, true.
That's far more effective.
Well, then he would have had to get batteries and put them in it, and this was the 80s,
maybe batteries were included.
And I got to say, Billy's kind of tough, dude. He got hit in the back by baseball pitching machine.
That looks like it hurt like hell.
He'll be pissing blood for a week, dude.
Oh, dude, I mean,
not only that, he takes a arrow in the bicep.
Yeah, a bolt. Yeah.
And dude, every time he gets hit or stung or like shot with something, like it looks like it hurts him for sure.
I was just
Yeah, I mean, he does not fare well against Stripe here. Kate helps by turning the lights on.
Yep.
And that kind of stuff. And then Gizmo saves the day with the Barbie car.
Yeah.
Dude, that's one of the most memorable scenes of this movie.
Definitely,
I love watching him crawl around on the floor, like his arms and legs are going real fast, and he's crawling around on the floor looking for the car and stuff.
He's low crawling. He's got his army crawl.
But you also get Billy's dad getting back into town, and he's got Barney in the car. He took Barney with him, and Barney comes in to kind of help things because he knows what's going on. He's got that dog sense. He knows what's going on. He's got to go in.
Yeah, his boy's in trouble.
Billy's in there. I got to get in there. And the scene with him in the car when he gets to Barney and Barney like hops over him.
Yeah, he scares the dog, definitely in a real moment there on film.
I just like my favorite one is when he pulls up and Barney's right there and he honks at it and Gizmo goes, haha.
Yep.
I was laughing so hard on this watch because I mean, how many times have we've all seen this? And I knew it was coming. I still laugh because that is just funny. He's honking at the dog. He's like, "Hey, Barney, let's go save the day." That's all it basically was. He's like, "Let's go help out Billy." So.
But Stripe is smart enough to know now that he's got to do something. He's got to find some water because he's got to create some more gremlins. So he starts looking for, and he finds the fountain in the garden center.
That Kate turned on by flipping too many switches.
Well, that's she doesn't. She's just trying to get lights on. Yeah. I can't really blame her for what she does, but
y'all leave Kate alone.
This whole shot of Stripe on the fountain shooting the gun. I mean, Billy knows that this thing could take him out if he's not careful. But when Gizmo comes in, saves the day, opens the shade on him, the effects of this gremlin like bubbling and then melting at the same time are great.
It looks real good.
So good. So good. And another movie we talked about, it reminded me of Lost Boys, the bathtub death.
The bathtub, yeah.
Because he boils and dies in the water and then he jumps out for one last scare and he's, extra melty.
Yeah. Whatever. Well, I like that when he does jump out for that last scare, it's just like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then it starts to bubble away.
Yeah, we know the skeletal structure of a gremlin, which is nice, I don't know if you guys have seen the artist that does like skeleton like concepts for cartoon characters.
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
He did like SpongeBob and Charlie Brown and stuff like that. So he draws their skeletons and they're obviously bizarrely shaped because they're from cartoons and stuff. It's fun to see the design of the gremlin skeleton.
And you even get that little horror movie nod to the final scare.
Yeah.
Like you think it's over, then and it's kind of creepy looking. And then I love it when he's melting and Barney's sitting there looking at it and you see the bubble go blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
On the floor. Barney's like, whoa.
Well, you brought it up. I mean, I would classify this as a horror comedy. Would anybody else?
Sure, yeah.
I think it's a horror. And in that case, we're going to do a top kill.
Top kills.
Is that the long top kill?
Yes.
Keeps going.
I faded it down so we could start talking over it so it didn't go as long.
Are we doing one apiece?
We're doing one apiece, and I want to start.
Go ahead.
I'm going microwave gremlin.
Ah, it's such a good one.
It's so good. When that
so
thing
much
blows
goo.
up and so much goop in there, I'm right there with you, Eric. I love it.
Love goo. Jenny?
I'm going to go with Head in the Fireplace gremlin.
Also very
I also like the melty.
Yeah. Melty. Eric, what's yours?
Man, I'm torn. I think I'm going to go with the Stripe death.
That's a good one.
In the fountain. Just such great effects work. It's hard to we can't leave that one out.
Yeah.
Well, since everybody's doing gremlin deaths, I'm going to go with the death of the bitch getting thrown out the fucking window.
That was a close second for me, man. Yes.
Yes. She
launched that bitch out the window.
Miss Dingle is dead.
Ding
dong.
All hell, the Wicked Witch is dead.
Yes.
Yeah. Since everybody did gremlins,
I'm with you on that one.
I'm going with that one. So.
All right.
a fine choice. My 4 favorite were listed here.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, all of mine were. This is pretty much a list.
Well, I don't think there were too many more to list, but
Josh,
well, you had the blender.
No one said the
gremlin.
blender. So.
you have Blender, you have Stab,
Blender and
you
Stab.
have
that's their names, Blender and Stab.
Yeah.
Blender and Stab,
Santa Claus death.
Santa
Gremlins
Claus
eating him.
You
Yeah,
got,
that's good.
Teacher
Teacher
You
death. Did the cops die when the car flipped?
theater.
over?
You got the theater deaths.
All right, well, I'll go fuck myself.
Somebody didn't take enough notes.
Just saying. Did you even watch this movie?
He
Hundreds
watched,
of
he
there are
watched
hundreds
Critters.
of deaths in this movie.
Critters.
He watched Critters. He watched Critters instead. Part
So
3
we get
with
back home.
DiCaprio.
And we get home and we see the newscast. Now, I always assumed when I was younger that the Futtermans died in the tractor accident until I saw the second movie.
Yeah,
But
because they show up. Yeah.
at the end here, they actually, if you listen to the newscaster talking about all the stuff that's going on, they say we spoke to the Futtermans.
Yeah.
It's very, very brief, and I just caught it this last time we watched it. But yeah, I mean, they don't leave that open. They actually do tie that up.
That was another change that was requested by producers.
Really?
That originally they did die, and they felt like maybe he was too lovable of a character, or they didn't want to kill them. It was a change made at some point for I don't know. I mean, it's hard to understand all the choices, but I think they were trying to keep it from going too far into the horror direction. You would, this movie would be sitting next to The Howling rather than being elevated to what it is now. It's more of a wider, a broader audience.
Well, I think it's for the better too.
Yeah.
Well, this movie, I do believe, is partially the reason why we now have PG-13. Because it was too violent for PG, and then
Temple of Doom was this year too. So, and
Yeah.
Temple of Doom was another one that was an offender of that.
Yeah, because when I read it, that's how this whole thing got started with PG-13. Because basically, this movie almost would have been rated R, because it couldn't have been PG. So that's why PG-13 was created. Because I remember Spielberg, we talked about this in another episode, that he was basically in on helping them create the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of that news report, I read this, and I've only seen The Howling once, but as the reporter is the same reporter that's in The Howling, supposedly, so it's potentially a shared universe, something like that.
I didn't know he was the same reporter.
It's been a while since I've seen
The Howling. There's some either the same reporter or some kind of maybe the same network.
I
or
think
something like
actually,
that.
I think you may be right. Now that I haven't watched The Howling in a little while. I think you may be right, Eric.
Yeah,
let's
there's
fact
some
check
kind
that.
Yeah, I'll get right on it. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
Ask Jenny; she knows. She loves The Howling.
Mm-hmm.
It's her favorite movie. It's a dog movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Mr. Wang, what's his name? Wang Wing.
We know what's on Josh's mind.
Hey,
It's
now.
Wing. It's Wing.
So Mr. Wing shows up, and he just lets himself in the damn house. I mean,
dude, he just pops up. Boom.
Hey, you took my mogwai. I'm coming in to get that mofo.
And he can speak.
Yeah, he can speak English very well.
And he can speak to Gizmo. Like he can communicate with him. Like just talks to him.
Yeah, and then I like that you can kind of see that it blows Billy away. He's like, you gotta understand what he says.
Yeah.
To understand, one must only seek to listen.
It's kind of
That's
like
another good quote too.
It's kind of like a recent episode of The Mandalorian where the Jedi character can talk to Baby Yoda. Interesting.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
And then, Gizmo's very talkative too. As soon as he gets to talk to him, it's like they're having full-on
Yeah, he's like, you wouldn't believe this family. They
fucking pour water
they
on
are
me.
completely
It was
irresponsible.
one day.
I was here for one day. What a disaster! Take me back to Chinatown.
Yeah.
What does he call? Does he call him Pop Pop? He goes Pop Pop. Like he like gets his attention to stop and talk to Billy.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like that. Yeah.
Oh, but when he says "Bye, Billy,"
oh, dude.
That's the saddest 2 seconds of anything I've ever heard.
Broke my heart when I was a kid, dude. I was so sad.
Meanwhile, Barney's over here like, thank God.
Yeah, Barney's like,
Can
at
we
least
go
I get some
back to
attention now.
normal?
My thought the whole time was Billy already had a dog. He doesn't need another pet.
Right.
I mean, that's my thought process. I've got dogs. I don't need anything else. I don't need a little Pikachu animal.
But I like what Mr. Wing says to him on the way out. He says, perhaps someday you will be ready. Until then, Mogwai will be waiting.
Yes, it's not. There's still a chance. So you're
you
saying
are
there's a
fresh.
chance.
Yeah. And then you get the great, closing line from Mr. Peltzer. If your washing machine goes out, something under your bed, there might just be a gremlin in your house. So it's a great way to end the movie.
Definitely.
I love that shot. Yeah, it goes right into the theme song. But even though it is a mat or a painting or whatever, it looks great.
It does look great.
It's pretty.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Wait!
Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Let Jimmy go.
Good is Gizmo. And in particular, just the creature design period is amazing. The practical effects, it's really kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like the way they do it, I think hardly any other movie would attempt something on such a scale. So many gremlins, like so many different actions that they have to perform.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I love it so much. The bad, not clarifying the rules too much. Like
A little open-ended.
what is after midnight? How can we get wet with beer? Stuff like that. And I don't really have an ugly one except Mrs. Deagle sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty close to Jenny here. I have humor and effects. I just like the overall madcap, kooky vibes of this movie, and of course the effects are great. Bad is Billy and his family are irresponsible pet owners.
Yeah.
Completely irresponsible, and not just with Gizmo, but with their dog as well. And ugly is that fucking bitch trying to kill his dog.
Yes, Eric. I love it.
Well, Jason, your turn.
I think I know what Jason's ugly is going to be, but let's find out.
Hey, maybe. My good is the overall feel of this movie when I watch it. It's a great childhood movie. The memories I have of watching it in the drive-in as my first drive-in movie, the Gizmo, all that. It just makes you feel good when you watch this movie. You can go back to being a kid when you watch this. You can sit there on your couch during the Christmas season and remember being a kid watching this every year. I mean, even after the drive-in, it came out on VHS and it's on TV every year now. So, my bad would be, we actually skipped over the scene, is the stop motion part does not hold up anymore. When Stripe walks out and then all the Gremlins, it's cool. But when you're watching it on a Blu-ray format now, it doesn't look that great. But I mean, I'm just nitpicking. I still love it, but you can definitely tell it is stop motion.
It is weird. That's the only
that's
stop motion shot. It's only like 3 seconds long.
Yeah,
and
it's
it just
very
shows them
short.
walking down the road.
It's a cool little thing because you see Stripe walk out and then all of a sudden there's but you can see how they're moving. Their feet are just moving up and down. They're not walking. Like they actually show them when they're puppets. Am I ugly? It's exactly what Eric called. Death to Miss Deagle. Fuck that bitch. So that's all I got.
All right. My good? Creature design, Gizmo.
Yeah.
Bedroom in the attic. Rambo mom in the Christmas tree scene is amazing. And the fucking time machine gag in the conference, in the convention place. I love it. The bad and ugly is Judge Reinhold. He sucks. Miss Deagle. She sucks. Fuck her. You don't
What
kill
is she,
dogs.
Josh? What is she, Josh?
Fucking bitch.
Ah, yes.
You don't hurt dogs.
Well, you don't hurt dogs, and you help out people when they obviously need help at Christmas. The kids were hungry. The mom was hungry. They just needed some help.
Right.
Lend them a helping hand. That's what you do at Christmas. So she's a fucking bitch. Thank you. Good night.
There you go.
And that'll do it for this episode of the VHS Files. No, for real. Next week, we are going to be back talking another Christmas movie, and we're going to be talking another Bill Murray movie, Scrooged.
Looking forward to that.
One that I have not seen a lot of times, but it is worthy enough to be on our roster for a Christmas movie for sure.
I really thought he was about to say he hadn't seen this movie, and I was about to fucking flip. I was going to throw the mic on the ground and leave the fucking room.
No,
I thought that's what he was about to say.
No, I'll go ahead and spill some beans. It wasn't a childhood movie for me, but I have seen it a couple of times. So, tune back in next week to hear us talk about Scrooged. Anybody got anything they want to say before we peace out for the night? Then that's going to do it for us tonight on the VHS Files.
Don't be a bitch and help people who need it during Christmas.
Don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch. Don't be a deagle. Don't be a deagle.
Don't be a deagle.
That's our new motto here. Don't be a deagle.
That's a t-shirt.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Be kind. Rewind. Bye.
Bye. Woo.
You've been listening to the VHS Files podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos.
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative.
Thanks for listening.
We didn't mention our co-host here.
That fucking bitch.
You can say it. Just my presence is a gift.
I like Yoshi's cookie.
Never go out after midnight.
I don't know. His mouth's a little fleshy and weird. He's still cute, but
yeah, I think Eric really wants like a dog with the leg hiked up in the air, licking himself down there. I think it's what.
Yeah, that's right.
I can see that.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, I don't do Pokemon either, but you know.